Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about meta and I'll use some examples. I recently talked to Be Serious and made a song about even the fact that this kind of conversation allows certain things. You have to take the pluses and minuses and deal with whether you want to adapt or change it or what you want to do. But the thing is, why are we here? Now, I'm going to use three examples of three people. Maslux, Twit from Uranus, and Trick. Okay. Now, they all regularly criticize me at various levels with abandon. And that's fine. Trick is nowhere near bothering me the way that Maslux has just done. I mean, I just finally got fed up with Maslux. It's not, it's a final straw type thing, if anything. It's just like I feel that I've caught him on both sides of an issue. And he's not consistent. Now, you can be inconsistent a couple ways, and it'll be okay with me. One, you can admit, I don't really know, I go back and forth on this. Then be inconsistent. But the other way is to change your mind for good and acknowledge it. You had a different opinion. Things like acknowledging, like when I showed you, Maslux, that your epistemology is not the classic one, you still wailed and flailed. Oh no, you're just arguing from authority, that's what they say. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I mean, and various other things. It's like you'll criticize me for arguing from authority and from thinking I'm an authority and that I've invented everything and nobody else has figured it out. So, which is it? You just want to criticize me, and that's fine, but you have to make me the topic, be more honest. So that's pissed me off. Twit from Uranus, you're not anywhere near pissing me off because you show this kind of consistency and honesty about your opinions. I mean, I thought your example was petty and continued the insult, but it's not a big deal. Insult me isn't the end of the world. That's okay. Thanks for trusting me to be able to listen to the criticism after I asked for it. So I thought it was kind of a petty example, like suspicious on your part, but I don't take offense at it. I mean, you really had one. You're not just trying to figure out what I think so that you can criticize it, which is what I think Maslux has done. And I'd be interested in that subject. And perhaps my interest would show that I'm narcissist, All press is good press. At least we're talking about me. But I would have that conversation. The thing with Maslux is that really, if he's going to switch sides in his criticism of that I'm this or that, he's got a problem with me, he knows that. Maybe it's this, maybe it's the opposite, but there's some problem. I interpret that as, at best, a criticism that I'm imbalanced in some way, that I focus too much on one thing, like I focus too much on the phantasmagorical, or too much on the material, or oh wait, I balance all these things as well as I can, huh? I'd be very interested to hear where I'm out of balance. Alabala. See, people think I'm drunk just because I talk faster than my mouth can move. No, it's lunchtime. Just home for lunch, not even a long lunch. I'm kind of tired though because I was up till 5 last night, programming till about 3:30. I'm getting better about just going to bed at the end of that, but traditionally I kind of I have to wind down and just watch some Bob's Burgers or something. Sometimes it's just curious, what are you guys here for? And this does include you, Twit. It's what are we here for? How do you imagine that I could justify my time online where the gratification comes from pressing a spam button? I'm a software engineer. I could write a website with a spam button just for me to click it. I could make it so the more times you click it, the more important it is. I mean, it's so arbitrary. That part in itself is insulting me. well, there's still a possibility I'll never know. Of course, you know that I'm in a position to know or not, right? I'm in a position to know for certain. I'm in a position to say, well, that does sound like me, but I don't remember it. But see, it doesn't sound like me, and quite the opposite. The only spam I've ever hit was to reveal it. I never had to hit actual spam. In my PM box, I block spammers on my block list, except for like 1 or 2 people. I'm obsessed with lighting this. See, this is getting personal. The people acting like Maslux, like you're acting right now, Maslux, have the opposite effect of what you say you want. I mean, see, I have related that I from like 13 until 20 or so, 18, I was mining all of this philosophy from science. 17, I went to college, started college level physics. After 3 years of that, I realized this wasn't just a coincidence, that my philosophy happened to match something I'd learned in the philosophy department. Skepticism, ancient skepticism. And then finally, I had a class with Benson Mates, you can look him up, who was a professor emeritus at the time and had translated outlines of Pyrrhonism by Sextus Empiricus, and he described himself as an old positivist, definitely not a skeptic, but he had a skeptic friend he'd tell us stories about him. He had a sort of sympathy to the skeptic personalities. I really love Benson Mates. He's awesome. His career was spent being a top-notch logician, not translating the Greek text. All the more impressive. That was a fantastic course. He was translating it, and he brought it in, pre-prints and typewritten and stuff, and that's what we were reading and go over, and then we'd have a new version. Awesome. And I realized that Sextus had consciously written down what I had gotten out of science, and that through my history of science courses, I saw, oh yeah, what happened was all of these natural philosophers that had all kinds of ideas, there's one substance, and all kinds of religious sort of ideas, all kinds of dogmas, they had a language they could talk to each other in, right? Like somebody thought the root origin was going to be God, could talk to somebody that thought the root origin was a substance of water, and so on and so forth, because they could say, well, here's what I saw from a skeptical viewpoint. It reaffirms my belief in God, it reaffirms my belief in water, whatever, for thousands of years. People still able to reaffirm their deeper so-called metaphysical beliefs. But they communicated through this philosophy that was consciously developed. It wasn't just like people figured out how to experiment, said, let's do this is the habit. And no philosophers had thought about it. Quite the opposite. Philosophers had developed a whole theory of knowledge ahead of time. And over time, through natural philosophers using it as a communication, they realized, well, let's save ourselves some time and just use this philosophy directly. Okay. So I realized that I hadn't invented this really beautiful thing, this skeptical philosophy that I didn't really know was just a skeptical philosophy. And it was my own theory of reality. And so I admitted that, quarter century ago. And now Maslach says he gets a new hair up his ass, and he thinks, oh, I see the problem. I see you're Mr. Proud. You've discovered this truth, and I'm starting to think not the opposite of that, but maybe that's what I should be thinking. Maybe for a quarter century I've been settled into the idea that I'm not really the inventor. But actually, those things, they're just near misses. I think, therefore I am. It's close to I perceive, therefore I am, and I see, therefore I am. But no. And, assenting to appearances, I appear, therefore I am. No, things appear, therefore they are. No, it's all a little bit off. I did invent it. So, in 50 years, when the entirety of mainstream knowledge and academic work and science is all reestablish itself consciously on this percept of we start from I see, therefore I am, and we can debate whether we should say I hear, therefore I am, or I feel, therefore I am, or let's debate that, and then I win. And you'll all remember the name of Pyrrho as the one that brought this philosophical wisdom so obvious to me that I didn't want to take credit for it. But thank you, Maslex. You're right, that is mine. If you can find anybody else that has said the basis of all knowledge is I see, therefore I am, then you win. Or perhaps I know there are such people and I win by sending you off to find them. Who knows? That's for you to find out and me also to find out.